That's it. So just real quick, I wanted to discuss this because we've talked about this many times before, and I'm going to quote a very wise man when I say more automobiles is not the solution. And that was Russell Frost, by the way. That was my best
Sounds
Russell
familiar.
Frost imitation. Yeah. So here at a TheConversation.com, which I had never heard of before,
Looks like it's
said
Australian.
yeah, I think it is Australian. Smart tech systems cut congestion for a fraction of what new roads cost. And so what they did was they worked and tried to calculate benefit to cost ratio of different strategies for infrastructure development. And basically what they did was they looked at traditional capacity expansion, which is building more lanes, building more roads, everything that we consider typical to expanding capacity. And they said that it has a 3.0 benefit to cost ratio. So you spend $100 million and you're going to see $300 million in benefit, however they want to calculate that. But as you move up the scale, you get more into technology more than manufacturing and construction. The biggest benefit to cost ratio they have is adaptive traffic signal control. So what this is, I mean, we all know that there's two main types of stoplights. You have the dumb lights that just run at certain intervals. So it's red for 3 minutes, and then it's green for 2 minutes, and you have a 3-second yellow, and then it's red, and then that repeats. And every light runs on its own individual timing. And then you have these timed lights that might help move traffic along one main thoroughfare. But this is adaptive traffic signal control. So depending on the intensity of traffic, it might stay green longer to help move more traffic. Or if there's not as much traffic, it might more equalize 50-50 to the side roads, for example. And you get into real-time traffic information, network management, traffic incident management, road weather management technologies, intelligent traffic management, dynamic curve warning, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it was a really good article, and I thought that shows how there are countries that have already implemented intelligent, technologically advanced solutions to managing the existing traffic. And they've seen huge benefits in moving people from place to place. So we don't have to keep adding lanes to existing roads. We don't have to declare eminent domain and drive people out of their houses. We could actually save a buttload of money and create much better traffic by simply using some technology. I don't know, did you guys have a chance to look at this article?
I scanned it while you were talking about it. So my only question is, this makes sense for like city traffic where there are a lot of intersections and flow issues have to be adjusted. But I don't know how that really helps when you think of like an Atlanta, Georgia type situation where there's just such a huge volume of vehicles on the road with lanes merging in, and it's just kind of, or an LA highway type situation. How would an adaptive system like that impact that?
It's got to be better than adding lanes, because we've seen that adding lanes, it doesn't actually solve anything for long.
Yeah, but if there's no lights to actually change, how's it changing anything? Like if on a highway scenario, the only thing you've got is like in LA, you've got metered entry points.
You get metered entry.
But other than that, there's no lights on a highway, so there's nothing to change.
We've got metered entry, and
even
here
using smart software like Waze to route you around stuff that's going on, you know.
Yeah. And then here we've got the express lanes, and the express lanes have variable speed limits, and so like you'll see it go up to 65, you'll see it drop down to like 55, 45.
And variable tolls.
And variable tolls. They
incentivize people.
They do use variable speed limits in other countries, like Germany, I know, have digital speed limit signs, and the speed limit will increase or decrease based on volume. The reason there is, hey, rather than driving 60 miles an hour for 5 seconds and slamming on your brakes, why don't we all just slow down to 35, and now we're all moving.
Yep.
I remember hearing a story about a guy that ran for mayor, a major city, and his one platform was he wanted to get rid of metered on-ramps. And everyone said, oh my God, I hate those things. So he was elected president. And the first thing he did was he ripped out all the metered on-ramps. And immediately traffic was abominable. And 2 months later, they put them all back. And people said, oh, now I get it.
They work.
Yes. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not familiar enough, of course, with Atlanta and other major cities like that. But I think these options need to be explored at the very least before we spend the money and we spend 5 years. I think we have the expressways in Chicago here that have been under construction constantly 10 years. And
10?
by the time
only 10?
Only 10. I think it's actually longer than that.
Like 50 years.
And by the time they actually finish the road expansion, more cars have been added than it was built to handle, and so it's already outdated. So
I'm going to do something I seldom do on this show. I'm going to disagree with Tony Schaefer.
Oh my God.
I'm going to disagree. This is at best a Band-Aid. This is at best somebody saying, the answer is, and I don't own this trademark. The answer is less cars. The answer is less cars. That's how you get traffic to move faster. Yes, there are some incremental improvements we can do in certain places, in certain situations, but on a freeway, on an expressway, it's less cars. Less cars. Not autonomous cars, not electric cars, less cars.
Let's stagger the start times. Let's get people to work from home. Not everybody needs to go in at 9 o'clock. Not everybody needs to go in to do their job.
Hey, let me ask you this. And
let's
this is
get people to
not
drive flying motorcycles to work, and then there'll be more room on the roads.
That's
Boom!
an answer. Boom! Flying motorcycles. Boom! Mic drop.
That also means less cars fault. There's just to be a lot of dead people after that.
See, it takes care of itself.
Management all rolled into one.
So, okay.
Less people alive, less congestion.
Right. So I literally just had this idea. It's not in the article and it's not something we've talked about before. But and hear me out on this, and I'm actually dead serious. What about, and the idea is less cars on the road, which got me thinking to take the train. But they got me thinking to the Golden Mile, and and you have to figure out how people are going to get to the train and get off of the train. What would you say to, hear me out, something to the effect of land-based ferries? So you would have 2 or 3 levels you would drive your car on. It would travel like a train, everyone in one lane, and then it reaches its destination and you drive off.
Yeah. No one's going to do that.
Everybody gets on and off at
Something
different
like
times.
that already in China, where it's a bus that runs over the lanes.
Yeah.
Well, but that's
You're
a
talking
bus.
like the auto train with more than 2 stops.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Are we so...
It's too hard to load. Yeah, it never worked.
Yeah, we're so wed to the idea that we've got to be in our own personal automobile that we can't hey, there's this weird new thing called trains and buses that move a lot of people around very quickly.
But I got to meet strangers on the train and the bus. That guy looked at me funny and he's like touching himself.
Right, and when he's doing it in the car next to you, it's no big deal. I totally get that, Casey. I do.
But see, the
and
problem
you can touch yourself in your car.
The problem is you can't call it a train. You have to rebrand it as Uber Max.
Right, there we go. Uber Max. I'm waiting for the Uber Max. I like that, Tony. That's great.
But it does work. New York City has over 5 million riders a day ride their subway system.
Yeah, go figure.
I mean, yes, there's some creepy people on the subways, but it's the most efficient way to get around New York City.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Anyone been to Manhattan that hasn't ridden the subway?
Yeah.
I've never been.
I rode a
bad.
bus. I rode a bus.
Okay.
I didn't drive.
Because like if you've got to get from downtown to midtown and you take a taxi and you take
Okay.
a subway, like the subway gets you there in 10 minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, the taxi's going to take an hour.
And it's $3 versus 15.
Actually,
Yeah,
twice.
and
Once I rode the
it's
bus and
only
once
you're only going like 2.5 miles, but it takes forever on surface streets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which adds to congestion, which slows everything down, and